thank you for joining us. You know, the league is only, the Williamson chapter has only been around, we only split from Davidson about 2 years ago. And already we're the third largest chapter in the state. So it's happening in this chapter, just saying. And to highlight that, we've got a whole lot of stuff going on this year because, I don't know if you didn't know this, it's an election year. So we have things that we like to do to make sure we get our constituents, get voters active and involved and actually participating in the process. So I want to tell you about a couple of those things. One of the things is, you know, Tennessee, as you will see, is ranked #1 in the country with election integrity. That is a big deal. And we have a social media committee that we formed to really be touting the integrity of our elections. Because we want people to not be fearful of voting. We want people to understand that it's important to exercise your voice, and that is, you do that by voting. So we want to encourage people to do that and not shy away because of any discussion about election integrity. So we're working on that. Additionally, we are going to be doing something we've not done before. We've got postcards that we are going to send out to a target precinct and see if we can increase the voter participation in that precinct. The postcards are fun and cute, kind of attention grabbing. You know, certainly as a league, we are nonpartisan. We never endorse any candidate for any election, and we won't do that here. We just want people to vote and exercise that voice. So we have that going on. And then and a little bit closer to the elections, you all have the option to participate, as you do with any of the stuff we do, by being poll observers. Now, I've been a poll observer the last several years, and there's several of us here that do that. It is interesting sometimes. Sometimes it's boring, but take a book. I usually knit when I'm two-handed. I knit and watch. It's really good to support our election commission as well as we always provide a report back to the commission after every election on observations we've made, particularly about accessibility for voters and things like that. So you will get that. But before that happens, and this is big news, on April the 8th, we are co-sponsoring a forum for county mayor. We are with Williamson Inc., Franklin Tomorrow, the Board of Realtors, the radio station, and the Herald are sponsoring a forum for the 3 candidates for county mayor. It will be at Columbia State. There will be lots of information about it, but it's at Columbia State, starts at 5:30. That's a Wednesday, free parking. It will be a great event. So I hope to see all of you at that. So now, because we have great speakers today, and I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Garrett to introduce those great speakers.
Thanks, Dorinda. I'm going to be really quick because I think we want to get to this presentation. Just a couple of housekeeping things. There are more chairs on this side of the room. We'll continue to put them out as we need to. We are honored today to have Jonathan Duda here, who is the chair of the Williamson County Election Commission, and Chad Gray, who's the administrator of Williamson County Elections. And I've already been able to look at their presentation, so they'll introduce you as part of that. They'll introduce themselves as part of that presentation. But we also have today here with us Donna Choate. Is that how you pronounce your last name? Choate. Donna Choate, who is an election commissioner. And Mr. Jim Burnett, who's an election commissioner. So thank y'all for being here. Rod just came in. Is it Williamson?
Yeah.
Yes, Rod Williamson. Wow. So we're going to give these folks up to about 45 minutes to speak, and then we'll have about 15 minutes for questions and answers, and then a few announcements, and then we'll go. Just in terms of the question and answer period, let's all allow whoever wants to ask one question so that more people get the opportunity. So that's kind of a rule of the road. So, Jonathan, Chad,
Thank you.
thank you.
Let me get my clock here so I don't, I could talk about elections for. There we go. I think it's on now. I could talk about elections for a long time, so I want to make sure I stay on point. Thank you all very much for hosting us. It's a real honor and privilege to speak before the League of Women Voters here in Williamson County. But before I do want to tell you just how deeply touched I was by a recognition that you all provided to me as an individual recognition, but it really is about our election commission. A couple months ago, you all presented me with a hero of Williamson County elections, and somehow you surprised me and managed to do that. Chad had kind of called me and saying, "Are you coming to the meeting today?" And I'm like, "Of course I'm coming to the meeting today. I don't know all the meetings." But he made sure that I was at the meeting, and you all pulled one over on me. You did surprise me, but I was deeply touched by that. So today we do want to kind of talk about some things about the election commission here in Williamson County. We also want to talk about a couple updates for 2026. One of the big ones that I do have a couple of do want to spend a little bit of time on is at the federal level, they're considering a bill. You may have heard of it, the SAVE Act, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that, but understanding that that's kind of a fluid situation. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of dive into some material here. As Nancy mentioned, I'm the chairman of the Williamson County Election Commission. This is my 7th year on the Election Commission. Chad Gray is our administrator of elections, and we have a staff at the Election Commission. Apparently, I'm not supposed to. Well. Yeah. Hello. Okay. But we do have a staff, full-time staff of, I believe, 9 people now that operate our elections for us. I'll try to speak loudly. I think the battery might be going out on this. If you can't hear, I'll try to project. The Election Commission is an arm or a part of the State Election Commission. We are appointed by the State Election Commission. We are represented by 3 delegates of the party that is in the majority of the state legislators. So we have 3 Republican delegates and 2 Democrat delegates. I appreciate my fellow election commissioners that are here, Donna, Jim, Rod as well. Wanda Bruce Graham, who I think you all likely know, was unable to be here today, but we make a great group in terms of our commission. Our primary responsibility is to operate the elections in Williamson County, and with that is also the voter registration process and maintaining those records. We presently have about 200,000 registered voters in Williamson County. Sure. Which makes us, I think, the 4th largest county in the state. We do operate 27 vote centers across Williamson County. We moved to vote centers a few years ago. That allows us to have any voter on election day can go to the most convenient location. I live in Spring Hill, I work in Cool Springs, and on election day I would have the opportunity to go to a voting location that I choose across the county. We know that Williamson County voters like this because it's increased our turnout, and when we get feedback from individuals, this is one aspect of convenience. It's important to the voters, and we get positive feedback regarding it. Technically, those vote centers operate on the same systems and the same secure processes that we use in early voting and have used for early voting for several years. So it's a very secure process, and we are proud to say that in 2016 and 2020 we led the state in voter turnout. For the 2024 presidential election, Wilson County just eked us out. We were like 0.1%. They got that recognition, but we were number 2. I did talk a little bit already about the convenience center process, but I also want to make sure to highlight, since 2019, every vote that's been cast in Williamson County has been on a paper ballot. I believe that's a very important ability for us to be able to go back and look at the records, or potentially audit an election. We're proud to say that since 2019, every vote has been made on a paper ballot. Coming up in 2026, we do right now have the county primary that is coming up on May 5th. The parties, both Democrat and Republican parties, a primary is their opportunity to select their candidates to appear in the county general election that will occur in August. August 6th is this state primary for governor, as well as the county general election. On November 3rd, of course, are our midterm elections, where we have state general, and then we have municipal elections in November for City of Fairview, Town of Nolensville, Town of Thompson Station. I believe in August, do we have City of Fairview has a municipal court clerk race?
It's a long story.
All right. Some updates that we have in 2026, we're still actively working to replace 2 vote centers that we unfortunately are no longer available to us. The first is a real popular one, Independence High School, right there at 840. The county school board expanded Independence High School. That yellow circle there on the screen is a new wing that they added for educational purposes, classrooms. Well, the way that the Independence High School is laid out, there's not a secure area for us to utilize for voting that wouldn't impact traffic from students. And for that reason, the school board or school system has asked us to get an alternative. We are actively looking in that area for a location. Second, we had a church off of 96, 65, east side of 96, that corridor, who they changed their programming of the church. They now have a preschool, and for that reason, they are not going to be available for a vote center either. So we're looking actively to replace 2 vote centers presently. So well, stay tuned. We'll have more information on that these are developing situations. Also in 2026, we did complete a couple upgrades to our system. One to prepare us for future updates. A second one is an update that I'm personally excited about. It's not very exciting, but when we have our ballot marking device, the touch screens, there was a small box that was represented for candidates that made it look like you press that little box, which would, select or check mark the candidate. We were able to remove that box now because that box was right on the border of the box above it. And our biggest feedback that we got from voters was that the machine selected somebody that they didn't select, or switched their vote. And we know that from user experience, what happened is people would think that they were selecting a candidate and they would select the one above them. And we have removed that, and with this update that we've done, which is, like I said, it's a very small thing, but it's going to improve voters' experiences. And some other updates to our system to really help us prepare us for some changes that might be coming down the line as it pertains to security features and operating elections. We're very proud in Williamson County that we get good feedback that people are confident in their vote here. But it's not just people telling us that. We also have data to demonstrate. In 2022, the Center for Excellence in Polling found that 85% of likely Tennessee voters say they are mostly confident or better that their vote is being counted accurately in Tennessee. Well, that happens to be our number one priority, is to ensure that people have confidence in elections, that we operate elections where your vote counts and only counts once. And that goes to Trey Hargett, our Tennessee Secretary of State. He often says, in Tennessee, we make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. And that is about every morning we say that to ourselves, because it drives everything that we do. Nancy or Dorinda had mentioned that the Heritage Foundation, not the Heritage Foundation of Franklin Williamson County, the Heritage Foundation nationally, has ranked Tennessee now 40 years in a row #1 in election integrity. And what does that really mean? Well, the Heritage Foundation has scored various elements of election integrity that they've identified, all states, and we have consistently been ranked the highest. It's a recognition that our laws that we have in place, our processes that we have locally at county election commissions, as well as the structure that's in Tennessee state law, that we have provisions in there that are across the nation found to be promoting election integrity. For instance, mail-in voting. We want people to have convenience to be able to cast a ballot. For those that truly have a need to whether they're absent or ill or whatever reason, that they have an opportunity to mail in a ballot. But in Tennessee, you have to have a justified reason. We don't permit everybody to mail in. That's an example of something unique in Tennessee, where other states might have universal mail-in voting. We have a little stronger, in my opinion, system. The other thing that we don't have that you often hear about is ballot collection processes, either groups or ballot boxes, harvest, those type of systems. We don't have that at all in Tennessee. So when somebody asks me about ballot collection, I tell them it's very simple. Your ballot, you submit it and you cast your ballot in Tennessee in person or through a mail-in process. But we're very proud of the recognition of the Heritage Foundation and that scoring. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the provisions that we do have in Tennessee to help you have confidence that your votes are collected securely and that you can have confidence in our elections. First, voting machines in Tennessee are not connected to the internet at all. Now, our registrar stations are, because we connect to our voter database to ensure that a person is entitled to vote, can vote. But those machines are not connected to our actual voting machines. Second, we have a process that we already spoke about, the structure of the election commission. Well, everything we do is represented by party. We have bipartisan Republican delegates or Democrat delegates on the election commission, but it goes all the way down to our poll workers. Our poll workers, when we appoint them, we review and do our best to ensure that we have parity at the actual voting locations as well. In terms of our voter registration systems, ineligible voters are removed from voter rolls through a robust list maintenance program. It's a program that, I say robust, we have a very specific process. We don't want to remove somebody that's entitled to vote. It's very important that our actions and our activities doesn't inadvertently cause somebody who is entitled to vote. So number one is protections to make sure that entitled people are in fact registered and have that ability to vote. But second, as people move out of the county to a different state, it's our responsibility to make sure we have accurate information. So reviewing the Postal Service change of address resources that the state provides to us, Social Security sweeps for those that pass away, records such as that. There's a number of different records that we're constantly monitoring to ensure that our voter rolls are as accurate as they can be. Additionally, protecting the ballot box. In Tennessee for some time now, you've always had we have a requirement of a photo ID, government issued photo ID. I think as federally they're looking at the vote or the SAVE Act, there's not going to be a lot of impact to us with the photo ID because we've had that in place. Additionally, in Tennessee, you're not eligible to vote if you register on the day of voting. We have a voter registration deadline. Additional measures that we have. Voters must request a ballot and meet one of the qualifying conditions to vote by mail, whether that's, like I said, absence or other reasons. There are valid reasons to request a mail-in ballot, but it's not universal. So, additionally, when you go to register, we call it a registration or registrar at the voting location. When you go to vote, you approach a registrar and you give them your photo ID. They'll look up your ID, but they're also doing something when they have access on that system to your signature on materials that you have provided to us. When I registered to vote in Williamson County in 1994, our system has my 1994 signature. I did check that. But that's accessible to the vote when you do vote. So everybody that comes in to vote, we match their signatures. And occasionally we do have some issues on that. One thing that we do that I guess it's no longer going to be a secret is on absentee ballots. We do have a watermark on those ballots, and we do have black lights that we can check to see if that invisible mark that we place is in fact if it's absent from a ballot, then we can have a question as to whether a ballot is legitimate. Additionally, in kind of wrapping up mail-in balloting, mail-in voting. We do have bipartisan counting boards that have a process of counting mail-in ballots that we appoint. Absentee by mail ballots cast during early voting are not counted until election day. We publish the time and date and time that we are going to meet, that absentee counting board will do its work. But you should know, you should know that early voting numbers and absentee ballot are not tabulated until, or in total even, until the last voter in Williamson County has voted. So at 7 o'clock is our time that we close the polls. Anybody in line is entitled to vote. And if that's 7:30 or 7:45 as it was for the last special election, we don't press total on early voting and absentee ballots until we get the call from the last vote center that the last person has voted in Williamson County. Additional measures, election day totals are unofficial. We have a period of time where provisional ballots can be inspected or added, or if they're entitled to vote, be included. And then we do certify the results after we've done some validation of numbers, and so on election night, you might see our unofficial results posted, and we do sometimes get a question from somebody, oh wait, the results not materially changed, but maybe 2 or 3 votes were added, maybe there were provisional ballots. Again, ballots taken by individuals who believe they were entitled to vote. We go through the process and find out that they were in fact entitled to vote. Those are kept separate from the general voting box and may be included. Another measure we have here in Tennessee is Tennessee law requires poll watchers to be a resident of Tennessee, so we don't have people from out of state or out of state participating in our elections. Let me talk a little bit about poll watching. Poll watchers are, I personally really appreciate the work they do. I think they're a key part of our process in having elections be transparent and having the fidelity of a true process, and people observe that, I think is a key part of it. Feedback that we get from poll watchers often are positive, often can be negative. But with that, we get feedback that's important to us to improve processes that we might have in place, or and make sure that our process is the best that it can be. Everybody, no matter how good you are, have blind spots. And we want to make sure that we identify if we're doing something that could be done better. We look to poll watcher experiences for some of that information. Just as important for us, though, is operating elections are poll workers. I encourage you, if you have a civic-minded, wanting to participate in our process, we have space, we have spots for you. We have about 200 poll workers that operate our elections, and we have rosters of individuals who have expressed interest, and we turn to that. And if you have an interest, approach us online at our website. We do have a packet of information as well as a form that we request that be completed and submitted to be added to that roster to be considered to be a poll worker. I will tell you, they are highly paid, and they get some of the best food. It's kind of like a potluck at the poll locations, but and I will say they work very hard. Our election polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. with setup and tear down. That makes for a very long shift. But we have we always are looking for good people working with. Moving on in some of the other measures that we have that the state of Tennessee is unique that does. Tennessee law places strong restrictions on private funding of election administration. As an example, we can't accept any type of monetarily anything really from those vendors that participate in supporting us. Can't accept a meal. I don't even take a pen from them if they have a pen with their logo on. But in Tennessee, some other states don't have restrictions on that. Probably the biggest control that we have in place is a deterrent factor is that committing voter fraud in Tennessee is a felony, and occasionally there are instances that individuals do get arrested, do get charged and arrested for fraud activity. Doesn't happen often, thankfully, but we do have a very active judicial process because our laws are very clear and they do get pursued. Here's a little plug for GoVoteTN.gov. GoVoteTN.gov is an excellent resource. It's a website technically, but you can install it on your phone like an app. It's very mobile friendly. But you could go to look up your voter registration information, where you're entitled, what county commission district you are in, where locations and where you can, actually vote. Who your representative is in your districts. Excellent resource of information that the Secretary of State and the Division of Elections has for it. Again, GoVoteTN.gov. All right, coming close to question time, so start thinking about any questions you might have. And some of those will likely be around the next couple of slides that I have here. The Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or SAVE Act, may or may not become law. We don't know yet, but we are prepared. It's important for everyone to know that every legislative cycle, election laws are amended, and we do a real good job of staying on top of those. But I assure you that at the Williamson County Election Commission, we're going to operate the elections according to however that looks, what the law says, or whatever processes are provided to us. But some of the main points of the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, SAVE Act now, I'm going to just refer to that, is proof of U.S. citizenship is required to register. And there's been a lot of questions about this aspect of it, demonstrating, how do you demonstrate that you have proof of U.S. citizenship? With a passport or real ID or birth certificate and other official documents. It's important to note that this would be a provision moving forward, that it will add to our processes of registering voters, and it impacts also individuals like yourselves that do a lot of work on registration, voter registration. Or when the Department of Motor Vehicles or Public Safety collects driver's license information, and at this time, we call it motor voter. When you register for a driver's license in Tennessee, you have an option to automatically select voter registration. Well, at that time, will be an added step to demonstrate or attest that an individual is a U.S. citizen confirmation at the time of registration. As I mentioned, acceptable forms of citizen documentation include, per the Act, include valid U.S. Passport, real ID, military ID, government-issued IDs that are photo. and then official documentation like birth certificate. An additional provisions of the SAFE Act include a little more controls on voter roll maintenance requirements. It requires the states to cooperate with the government, it requires certain federal agencies like the Social Security Administration to insist on other Department of Homeland Security to provide to states access to information and resources that we presently don't have available to us. It adds that layer of federal access to federal information to help in our ability to maintain our voter rolls. In terms of enforcement and accountability, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is probably the one aspect of the SAVE Act that I just am a little nervous about, but it creates a private right of action allowing citizens to sue election officials for non-compliance. I'm not afraid of, I know that the work that we do at Williamson County Election Commission is process driven. We do treat people with respect and equality, but it is a fact that we have people out, people that will test just every aspect of our processes, and this new provision providing for citizens to sue election officials, I do think it's not going to be a hypothetical. I think you're going to have people challenge the process by utilizing this. So we'll see how that, if that in fact remains in the law and in fact is used. But having said that, it does establish criminal penalties for knowingly registering non-citizens to vote in federal elections. And in Tennessee, we already have a restriction that only citizens are entitled to vote, so this is not a change for us. It's already in state law. All right. Let's take this opportunity to let me close the presentation portion by saying first and foremost, I want to thank each one of you for coming out today and your day to hear about elections from me, but also your organization. The League of Women Voters are well represented as participants of our election commission meetings. Almost every, I should say, without equivocation, that there's a member of your organization at each of our meetings. We appreciate that. They're taking the time to do that and represent your goals and your needs. They do provide us, with the poll watching that they do, a report that is very, very much appreciated and utilized by our group. But you should be thankful for those individuals that are very much participating. On a personal level, if we are able to have voters confident that their voice is heard, that's my number one priority. And I think we can always do better, but I do think that all in all, we do operate elections that we're very proud of in Williamson County. And a big part of that is you all and your work that you do with us. So thank you for having us, and I'm looking forward to some questions.
Jonathan, since you're in a great place to see people raise their